Hi classmates, sorry I couldn't be here for the report, but this will have to do. I'm going to talk about Carl Jung and his concepts of analytical psychology. Carl Jung was a Swiss-born psychologist. He was a follower of Sigmund Freud. He based his earlier theories on Freud, but he later drifted away from them and made his own, which is now known as analytic psychology. He dedicated his life to interpreting the unconscious. Okay, so the second thing we're going to talk about is the concept of the psych. The psych is another name for one's mind. The psych is divided up into two parts, the conscious and the unconscious. The ego, which you've already learned from Freud, is the center of the conscious. It is your unique individual identity. The unconscious is categorized into two parts as well, the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. And the collective is further divided up into its archetypes, except the archetype of persona, which we'll get to discussing that soon. Okay, so the personal unconscious, the first part of the unconscious, it is the most superficial layer of the psyche. Everyone creates their own personal unconscious. It is based on personal experiences. It holds a person's repressed memories, thoughts, and feelings. For example, a man has a phobia of spiders, but he can't remember the first time he was afraid of them. It's difficult for these thoughts to reach the unconscious, yet it's still possible. The second part of the unconscious is the collective unconscious. Everyone also possesses a collective unconscious, but it cannot be built up like one's personal unconscious can. Rather, it is inherited by a person, meaning that these thoughts and images in this particular part of the psyche have already existed before a person was ever born. Carl Jung believed that just like we were born with instincts, we are also born with a psyche. So he's basically saying that most parts of the psyche, except the personal unconscious, is biological. So the third concept we're going to talk about is the archetypes. It's probably the most complex concept of Jung's. I don't even fully understand it, so you have to bear with me. Okay, an archetype is described to be a possibility of an image brought to the conscious or unconscious by psychic means. When it is in conscious form, it is called an image. This is also called an archetypical image. Although when it is in the unconscious form, it is only a possibility of an image. There are 5 kinds of archetypes. The first is the persona. The persona is what the outside world knows us by. It isn't really ourselves, though there is a danger we can identify too much with it and believe it to be really ourselves. It's basically a mask. It's not a bad thing to have. It's actually necessary for us to get along with others. And we don't just have one mask. We have several. Most of the time, depending on the environment, where we are and what kind of people we're with. Ask a doctor what he does and he won't say, I do medicine. He's unlikely even to say, I practice medicine. What you'll likely hear is, I'm a doctor. Occupation isn't the only shelf where masks are pulled from. Religion, sexual orientation, politics, social sciences, etc., etc. The second archetype is the ego. And like I said before, the ego is the center of the consciousness. It is an identity. It is me, but it does not totally make up my psyche. The unconscious can never be made fully conscious, and trying to bring it about into consciousness is not all that dangerous, yet ignoring it is also a mistake. It can hurt the growth of your ego and your psyche in general. The third is the shadow. the nature of this archetype, it's the receptacle, the trash bin for all of that which we have one reason or another disowned. It's very unpleasant. It's our darkest of dark natures. It is mysterious as well. There are treasures here, but they're buried deep inside the shadow. The fourth is the pair of the anima and the animus. The anima is the female soul image of a man. The animus is the male soul image of a woman. That's the most simple definition I can give you. The anima slash animus has negative sides to them as well. Jung's anima, it whispered to him that he was doing art instead of science, but he rejected this and he continued to call himself a scientist, which was much better in a society which regards science as serious instead of art. If one is on good terms with one's anima or animus, he or she can prove a valuable messenger between the unconscious and the conscious. It's a connecting link. And the last archetype is called the self. The self is the center and the totality of the psych. It is the archetype which contains all the other archetypes, and it's something of paradox and extremely difficult for the conscious ego to accept. The last concept, finally, we're going to talk about the psychological types. Jung distinguished two general attitudes, introversion and extroversion, and four basic functions, which are thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. Jung's most popular idea is probably this system of identifying personality types according to which psychological attitudes and functions predominate a person's way of living. I can't explain this very well, so the simplest way is to state these in a set of tables. So here you go. And that's all I have to tell you on my part of Carl Jung. Kathleen will explain more about him. You'll hear more from Aaron and Dane about Alfred Adler, from Kim about Karen Horney, and Moti about Eric Erickson. Don't worry if you don't understand half of what I said. I don't even really understand half of what I said. I'll give you notes if anything. Thank you for your time, classmates, Ma'am Glow. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.